Mother's Day, like motherhood itself, can be really complicated. We come with so many different stories of our own mothers, or of the ways that we are or are not mothers. I mean, I didn't get a chance to say it in the video, but not all of us appreciate mom genes because of childbirth, which doesn't make us any less of a mom. And many of us bring really complicated and even painful feelings to this day: grief or loss or longing or annoyance. Whatever you bring here into this time, in this community, you are seen and you are held. One of the reasons that I loved that our two conversations today were drag kings and mom genes is that the combination reminds us there are so many ways that we are often choosing to and wrestling with how we perform ourselves. I mean, it may not always be conscious, but we are always in a certain way performing for ourselves or for the world with our clothing, our haircuts, our jewelry, our piercings, tattoos, our makeup. All of these things are always choices that we're making, like Elaine said, maybe to tell ourselves or tell those around us something about who we are and what we value and who we value. Or sometimes there are choices that are telling the world and ourselves something of who we wish we were, or who we hope people will see us as, even if that has nothing at all to do with the truth of who we are. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, perhaps, that you don't really feel like you make choices like this, like you don't even think about it, I want to suggest that even that non-choice it's in its own way a sort of choice with its own story, your story. I mean, it could be that, like Katie described, you're in a place where you're just not even sure what would make you feel good to wear, or what feels like you, or even what that means, especially after this past year. Or maybe you think that clothing is actually pretty frivolous. It could also be that you don't think about it as a choice because your natural expression is pretty aligned with what is socially and culturally expected of you. And so you can just be without really thinking about it. And so maybe this time has been a chance to start just think about it. It could also mean, quite simply, that you are a cis man. One of the things, many things I had to cut out of the videos. We had a long conversation, but one of the things that I had to cut out was that the moms talked about how women often have so many social pressures to dress ourselves appropriately. We all had many feelings about the word appropriate, and so much more internal and external pressure and actual real impact when we don't dress appropriately. It's exhausting and unfair, but it also takes its own toll on men. A narrowing of what we teach cis and straight men about self-expression and what options there are for getting dressed up, or even how to begin getting dressed up. I mean, there is a reason, I think, why Queer Eye has been so popular and powerful, where we can see mostly straight cis men learning and be liberated into new modes of self-expression is often so moving and healing. Like Ashley said, these boxes, or you might say prisons, are harmful to us all. And it is our work to tear them down. And so my invitation is for us to get to work, or maybe you might say, let's get to play. In the next few days or weeks, my invitation is for all of us, whatever our story might be in all of this, is to play with dressing up differently. Explore a piece of yourself that you don't often show, or try on clothing or jewelry, or even just a posture. Like Ash talked about, like dragging in her own clothes, just with a different posture, a different feeling, something that connects you to try on something you don't usually identify with, but you could just try. Now, I know we have our share of actors out there amongst you, so I should be clear. I don't mean like try as in try out for a play. I mean try on in your life with the people you love and you trust, or maybe it might even be easier to try out with strangers. Just be yourself, but a little differently. or be not you, and see what that tells you about yourself. See what you learn about yourself and about the world that you live in, and about the world that you want to live in, and the person that you want to be and become. Along the way, know that these small acts are not just personally powerful, but also socially powerful. So that as we expand the possibilities for what is acceptable or appropriate, according to age or gender or time or place, and instead we dress for ourselves as ourselves, we make it more possible for each of us to show up as we are, fully and free. May it be so, and amen.